Okay, we're going to talk about it because I want to talk about it. So, I saw that very insightful documentary on Tyra Banks. Personally, I have always liked Tyra because Tyra just seems like a fighter. You know, um, on that documentary though, it's just like it was just kind of given like sociopath, you know, and I mean, well, shit, I mean, I'm not here to judge, but it was very gaslighting. But the one thing that I'm most grateful for is the insight on that documentary that people really don't know what they're doing. If you look at from the outside looking in, you see how things started off to where, for one, she's a model, so people don't think much of her. You know, so you see the drive, the work in which that she puts into creating the show, and then it's kind of like the whole time, a lot of the times things are being improvised. Now, the thing is that Tyra was very creative in a lot of her approaches, but it's kind of like morally and professionally, you heard about like what some of the women went through. And then it's like with these women, they see Tyra as like a boss. But it's kind of like what they don't know, what they don't realize is that she don't really know too much of what she's doing. She's putting ideas together. And that's not to throw shade at her, but I'm saying like that shit was just pretty much like thrown, put together. It was very well organized, but it was kind of put together like she was improvising. She really didn't know. But then, and you have these women that look up to her and think that she's more than what she really is. So whenever we put people on pedestals, it kind of dims our self-esteem. And I'm just like, man, this shit is crazy. Because even with seeing the show and with knowing Tyra and her history, it's kind of like, oh yeah, Tyra that bitch. But it's kind of like, no. She definitely made her way as a black model in the things in which that she had to go through. She definitely paved the way. She definitely deserves her homage for that. But with seeing, she really didn't know what she was doing, what was going on, and then seeing the perspective of the women and how they looked up at everybody and saw everybody as something great, to the point to where it showed you how people will kind of like sell out for an opportunity. And it's just like you'll sell yourself out for an opportunity and you'll take yourself through all of these things and you'll go against the grain. You'll go against yourself and your own self-worth for that opportunity. And a lot of the influence comes from, because this person can make it happen. You heard a lot of the girls, they was just like, they didn't have any careers after that. It's kind of like I don't know if you remember Key Business College, right? So they have these little colleges, these little trade schools, and it's a gimmick to these trade schools. And I'm speaking from personal experience. So I remember Key Business College started off, right? So then they got rid of Key Business College and then they changed the name. So individuals who graduated with a certificate from Key Business College, it's kind of like after some years, that college gets shut down. So your credentials are no longer valid. You have to pay like thousands for the courses for these trades. Then money has to go into tests and getting your certification and all this type of stuff. only to turn around a couple of years later and the shit is shut down and your credentials are useless. And so you got to be careful about what you do online too, because they got the Bryan and Stratton, they had the Key Business College, they had other stuff out here too, but now they got shit on the internet, to where it's just like, oh yeah, you can pay this amount of money, for a course, do this, do that, and they make you promises that you'll be able to, once you get your credentials, you'll be able to fly and do whatever you want. Then come to find out, each state has certain laws on what type of credentials that they will accept. And it does depend on where you get those credentials from. So I was a CNA, and when I moved to North Carolina, my credentials were not valid in North Carolina. My mom was a CNA in North Carolina, then she came over to Virginia and her credentials were not valid. So you see, so it varies from state to state. And that show really triggered me, because it's just like, damn, this situation is just like a lot of the experience in which that I've seen, in which that I've had with dealing with some of these schools, these trade schools. So, it was, to me, it was very, 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 very interesting, and then with thinking about my personal, experience with certain things, and then over the years, how things change. I used to work at this place to where you had to be a certified nurse. Then it's kind of like years later, now, you have to be a direct support professional, which means that you don't even have to have any credentials. What I've learned, what I've noticed, is that individuals will hire you and just train you for what they want you to do. You really don't have to have experience out here, because the job will be willing to train you. So, it's just like, man, it's so like chopped and screwed out here. And you think to yourself, like, where is the real stability? So, it's kind of like going to a HBCU. So my older sister, she graduated from Norfolk State, and she has a degree in political science. She's a teacher, So when she is hired, she doesn't have a degree for teaching. She has a degree, but it's for political science. But because she has the degree, it's kind of like they let her into that field. And then with her being in that field, she has gained years of experience. So now that she has the experience, it really doesn't matter what credentials that she has. Her experience will back her up with getting a job at a school or educational facility pretty much anywhere. My son's middle school, his assistant principal also had a political science degree as well. And he was assistant principal of the school. And he had a military background. So, all throughout life, I just be seeing through the illusions. And even, I'm going to tell you, I went to TCC. That is Tidewater Community College. So the logo, the slogan for Tidewater Community College, from here, go anywhere. So I went to Tidewater Community College because I wanted to be able to transfer into a school in New York in the Soho. For art. I wanted to go to an art school. So I ended up finding out that I was not going to be able to do that. In order to get into TCC, you have to have a GED or a high school diploma. I didn't have either one of those. And I was able to get into TCC. So, I've seen how there are ways to where you can work around the system a lot of the times. But then I have also seen how even when you have everything in which that they ask you to have, that they say that you need, it's not going to take you where you think it's going to take you. So I'm just like, wow, this shit is crazy. This shit is wild. This shit is wild and this shit is crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, in the Commonwealth, especially in Virginia, they can fire you for no reason. I always talk about how job stability here is so fucked up. But it seems like politics it seems like they have other important things to worry about other than what is really going on with the people. I mean, I'm just like, damn, this shit crazy and this shit is a mess. This shit is crazy and this shit is a mess. I will say though, back in the nursing field, the highest paying job for a CNA the highest pay rate was about $13. You might get lucky and find an agency that will pay you $15. But even with paying you $15 an hour, it's kind of like you only get, it's very limited amount of hours. You may do anywhere from like 10 below hours a week. Now you don't have to have the schooling or the credential to work in the nursing field because it's such a high demand, to the point to where now they're willing to pay you more and train you in-house. I tried to get a job at a casino, right? And this is another thing. This is also something that I picked up in the nursing field too, because what I noticed, I said, these companies, they offer training and you have to pay for the training. You have to pay for school. But at the same time that the company is offering schooling, you have to work for them for 6 months at the company, because it's a company, but they're extending with also teaching and licensing individuals. So once you get your license, you have to work for them for about at least 6 months. Then it's kind of like sometimes when you try to go somewhere else, your credentials are not creditable because what they have set up is not credentials to where you can go any place else and be accepted. So when I worked for the casino, I wanted to. And, I was so excited because I'm just like, damn, I never thought about working in a casino. I never thought about being a tables dealer. So I did a lot of research on that shit. And I was just so excited about everything, and especially to find out, dealers get paid anywhere from $20 to $25 an hour. Then on top of that, it's kind of like every hour they take about like 20-minute breaks. Then on top of that, they're getting tips. So in Virginia, of course, when it comes to Virginia, they pay 18. They're going to pay the least amount that they can pay. So anyway, I tried to go to this place. I tried to go to the casino in Portsmouth, and they offer schooling. The casino business is really hard as a dealer to get into because they try to overcomplicate the job itself as well as the credentials. It's just like when a company license somebody, but they cannot use that license anywhere else. Casinos are very picky about where you get your credentials from and what it is in which that because every casino, they don't have the same games and they don't have the same rules. So this place, they offer schooling for you to get your dealer's license, and you can start working for them. But the thing is that those credentials will not work anywhere else. But the thing is that you don't have to pay for the schooling, which is a nice balance. The only thing you have to pay for is the licensing. But that part is fucked up, because I can't go to the Red Rose Casino or the Horseshoe with those credentials and work. You see what I'm saying? It's kind of like they want to pitch you all of this shit in front of you, in front of your face, sell you a dream and give you false hopes and informations that, oh, well, even if it doesn't work out, that's okay. You know what I'm saying? You can, at least you have your license, you can go and you can move on with your career. That's bullshit. And then on top of that, they had an individual that worked at the casino, so that we could ask them questions. So I'm just like, well, how much do you get paid? This girl said they get paid $6.50. I said, oh, excuse me? I said, not below minimum wage. She said, well, yeah. She said, well, we split tips at the end of the night. I'm just like, girl, you got about 3 different shifts for this casino, anywhere from 2 to 3 different shifts. The casino is not popping all day, every fucking day. People don't just have money to gamble away or to throw away. And some people are addicted to gambling. Don't get me wrong, but it's kind of like, it's not a shitload of them. It's not a lot of them coming every day to the casino to where money is flowing through like that. $6.50. And then on top of that, they're building another casino over here by the tunnel. The tunnel that connects Norfolk and Hampton. It has to be on waterfront property. So they're going to have casinos, on boats. So in Portsmouth, it's a building. But by the bridge, they're going to have them on boats. So, I'm just like, wow. I'm so glad that I didn't go through with this bullshit. I could not believe it. And the school was in Portsmouth. I had to take 3 buses. Because for one, my son's father, I don't know what the fuck was wrong with him. But, he was kind of trying to play me a little bit. So I knew he wasn't going to be supportive. I'm just like, all right, well, I'm going to have to buy a bus pass. So the class was going to be 3 months. So a monthly bus pass is $70. So I'm just like, damn. I'm going to have to, I'm going to have to, dish that money out every month for a bus pass. Then on top of that, it's just like, damn, I got to take 3 fucking buses. I have no problem with putting in the work for what I want, but it's kind of like, I'm just like, man, that shit not going to be worth it. Then I got to take the bus back home. And the thing is that during the time he was working in a building, he wasn't working at home. So our hours between me going to the school and then me choosing my future hours is based around him. Then on top of that, when you go through the Portsmouth Tunnel, you have to pay a toll. You could easily get an easy pass, to where you pay a certain amount monthly for, unlimited back and forth traveling to and through and from the tunnel, to and from Portsmouth. But like I said, my son's father, his working situation was a lot different. So, I'm just like, bruh, I cannot. And so when it came to that documentary, I'm just like, damn, man, like it is so fucked out here. The world is one big ass scam for real. And then they have the audacity to lock people up for scamming. It's just like, it's like being in a cage, and you get disciplined or some shit. But what you get disciplined for is happening to you. But when you do it, you have to pay consequences. But when the world does it, they don't have to pay consequences. I'm just like, oh my God. This is why I just want to live. I just want to live my life. I just want to live. I want to try, what I realize, the less that I want, like material wise, it's kind of like the more happier I find myself being. Now, that's not to say that I don't have any ambition, because, I have shit going on behind the scenes. But the way in which that I'm doing things, I don't need a lot. I don't have to be super ambitious. Like, I can just take my time with the shit. If I make mistakes, I got time, I got space to be able to fix it. I tell people time is essence, so be careful with your time, how you are utilizing your time. Because when we're ambitious and we're trying to make that money, what I see from a lot of people, they just be throwing shit together. They throw shit together and they make it look good. You know what I mean? It's so easy with social media to be able to fool people. You know what I'm saying? There are so many products that I have purchased and the products fucking suck. And I'm just like, damn, they got me again. They asses got me again. So, I'm real careful nowadays about what I convince myself that I want or that I'm in need of. I have allowed myself to slow down to be able to discern, what decisions to make about certain stuff. Because it's kind of like, man, I try to be grateful though, and I don't complain, because in other places it's harder. There are people who, in outside countries who want to come to America. I've spoke to a lot of foreigners, especially when I worked in healthcare, to where, they gave me the history, the background on their story, where they come from, them transitioning to America, what it's like, you know what I mean? Their opinion, their observation. So, it's a very nice, it's a nice balance, right? But I'm just like, man, I feel like I'm asleep somewhere, and I'm in a deep ass dream, and I'm in this body, living this dream. That's why I feel crazy. It feels like everything is illusion, is an illusion. And the more that you see through the illusion and you start to see the fuckery, it's just like, well, wow. I understand why they say that we're being used as batteries. I understand why now, people's jobs and the shit in which that they're going through, how it's eating away at us. Do you know back in the Bible times, they used to live up to 600 years old? You ain't living up to no 600 years old now. That shit's crazy. So, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I said, you know what? I just want to do my books. I just want to write my books. Like really, that's all the fuck I want to do. If there's a job, any job, at this point in time, I just don't even give a fuck. Whatever makes me happy, whatever I find pleasure or I find joy in, I feel like a lot of the times we're chasing happiness because we find happiness in, like material things, stability. And I mean, of course, I get it. But it's kind of like, there's just more in which that I see going on here. And I'm starting to really understand why and how people can have so much more than somebody else and absolutely be miserable and be jealous and really hate them. You know what I'm saying? I'm just like, what in the world? What is going on? What is like, bitch, stop asking questions, because it's like you already finding out. You already know, right? I said, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. And there are so many distractions taking place in the world from people actually seeing what's really going on, the life that we're living. These jobs, now this is irrelevant, but there are a lot of individuals that are from like Yemen that have stores here. They come from that area. And around the Muslim holiday, I believe it's Ramadan. Please don't criticize me, but let's not even say it. Let's just say the Muslim holiday. So the guy, he does not want to sell his pre-rolls during that time. But instead of him just saying, due to religious purposes, I'm not going to be selling these products for the month. You know what this man said? He gonna say Trump ordered him to stop selling that shit. I said, my son's father told me that. I said, no, he did not. I said Trump ordered certain pre-rolls with a certain amount of THC. I said, nobody around here sells that. So for him to say that, he's full of shit. But I ended up finding out why later. And my thing is that, okay, that's reasonable, because the type of clientele, it's a hood store. So if you got people coming in there for their pre-rolls and you tell them, out of respect for our holiday, we're not selling them, people are not going to understand that. They don't want to hear that. So I understand why he lied, but I'm just like, man. It's so crazy. It's so disturbing. I'm just like, man, it's really hopeless. Like, I don't even really care about people's mental health anymore. Like, I don't care about mental health. I don't care to assist people. I don't care to, you know what I mean? Like, that's why I still study my art therapy for myself. And I mean, you never know. Like, somebody, may want to experience the art therapy or whatever, but I'm just like, man, it's pointless in trying to help humanity. It really is, because there's so much that is like working against. It's so much working against you. But like I usually tell myself, I'm just like, well, just contribute, because you're disturbed by the shit. Don't sit back and complain and you're not doing anything to make situations better. You know what I mean? But that's why, career-wise, I don't even want to do that shit no more. You know what I mean? Like, I already got my shit going on. I was going to open an online store. I don't even want to do that shit no more. It's like, bruh, I just want to live a life that feels good to me. I want to explore more of my freedom. I feel like my ambition just kind of keeps me boxed in. If I want to work, because I don't know, I've always done whatever the fuck I wanted to do. Not always, because you can't always do what you want to do, but I think for myself. There have been places to where I'm just like, I'm curious as to what it's like with working that job. So, I try to get a job there. When it comes to my last job, I never worked in a funeral home. I've always wanted to. So what did I do? I applied at a funeral home and I got the job. I enjoyed my experience at the funeral home. But, I don't know. This shit is it's so fucking crazy. We all have, our views and perspectives of the things in which that are important to us, what we want. I'm like so exhausted. And I'm just like so moody. On the inside of me, it feels like a bunch of waves. You know what I mean? Like violent waves. Like it's stirring up emotionally within me. It's just like, I feel like I just want to cry. I just feel like I want to cry. Because it's just like, what am I doing here? Why did I agree to come back here? Oh my God. But you know what? Once again, I mean, it is what it is. So, I'm here to just experience life. That's all I'm here for. It's just to live. I am a spiritual being enjoying this human experience in this meat suit. Oh my God. It's crazy. Absolutely. Okay, but I have a lot to think about, and I just have a lot to just kind of get off my mind. So, until the next time, we'll talk again. Thank you.